Welcome to this episode of the 502 Report. I'm Nikki Lechniak. First responders in Louisville have seen overdose calls rise dramatically. So far, there have been 5,000 this year. In response, Louisville Metro's Department of Health and Wellness is taking action.
We have an opioid crisis going on in our community, particularly with heroin. There's a lot of folks from every background suffering with this problem. Addiction is a public health issue, and that's why the Office of Addiction Services was formed. How are you doing? This isn't the first epidemic that we've seen. One of the things that we really wanted to do was focus in on our drug treatment providers in the community to kind of get everyone on the same page.
We have a host of people in our city.
For many years, the Treatment Advisory Group got everyone together.
Appropriate for somebody in that situation.
There's all kinds of factors that wind up becoming barriers to clients accessing the treatment that they really need. Trying to get everybody on the same page and realizing that we're all here for the same thing, and that is for the recovery of our clients. We have basically decided to focus on a few areas of concern in our community. We've got a lot of work to do in prevention here in this community as well, and we're excited to do that.
You're going to blow 6 times 5 seconds apart in here. They quit breathing, put them back on their back.
With the Kentucky Harm Reduction Coalition, we offer naloxone training and distribution here at the Maine Health Department twice a month. In partnership with Louisville Free Public Libraries, we're doing Heroin Hurts Louisville, what we can do. We've already done 2 classes. You don't want to have that conversation after they've been exposed to drugs. You want to have that conversation before. An honest conversation, and keep that conversation open with them. We're also outreaching to employers in the community to try to find ways to support recovery for those that are in recovery, that are working to sustain that recovery. We're hoping to work with Metro United Way 211 call center for folks to be able to call into there to be able to get information about where they can go for drug treatment. We already have that system in place to be able to bolster that system and start to address this problem. Trying to make sure that recovery houses are truly houses where recovery takes place rather than flop houses. Opiate addiction, heroin addiction changes the brain chemistry for a long time. We're really good at treatment, but what we don't realize is that there's a huge component of aftercare that is needed to support an individual in their sobriety. For that year's period of time, we know that if a person can make it a year, the chances of them making it sober greatly increase. But unfortunately, insurance doesn't really support that aftercare that's really needed, and we know as providers that's what works. It's going to take us all to dig our way out of this situation. We have a huge problem, but we also have a great number of people who care in our community. Hopefully we can find our way out of this.
Our health department offers some different options for those with addictions, from harm reduction to help-seeking treatment.
Once admitted, people will come in on a daily basis. They will be buzzed in by a security guard. They will come up to a line to wait. What they're waiting for is to go around the corner here to the business office. Some things that the patient might need to do is they might need to see their counselor in order to sign off some paperwork. It might be their time for a random observed urine drug screen. Patient will then walk along this corridor here to a red line here, and once the medication window is open, they will identify themselves. The machine will then pour out, or we will hand dose them their dose for the day. Methadone just really provides a longer runway for people, so then that way they can stabilize on the methadone. They don't have to worry about chasing down a next use. They can continue to work on some issues they have, on how their disease operated with them in their body. We focus on the triggers that they might be triggered to use again. We focus on maybe social situations that might be triggers. We help them to take a look at how their disease tends to operate within their life. So then that way they can learn to undermine how their disease operates. So then eventually, if they choose to pull off of the methadone, then we can slowly taper them off with little to no discomfort over a period of time.
We've always had drug use in our society, so we recognize that it's going to be there. There are things that we can do to engage and interact with people that reduces the harm that's caused to people who use drugs, and then also the harm that's caused to society. We moved the syringe exchange inside of the Maine Health Department building about a year ago, and it's made a big difference for our participants. One thing is that we can get people in and out a lot quicker. What can I do for you? We have the opportunity to sit down and have more conversations with people, to engage with people, because more people are working. And so people can still get the services they need and not have to wait as long, which is really positive. There's more space, and because of more space, there's more privacy. No one knows why you're coming into the health department. And so it's not just obvious, hey, they're there for this forensic exchange. It just protects the anonymity of people. People are a little bit more comfortable to come in. They actually go over there and grab what they need versus us getting it for them. Allowing them to engage more and do more things for themselves opens up room for conversation to engage and talk about other things. If we can get somebody to think about how they use drugs with an antibiotic ointment, a Band-Aid, and an alcohol swab, if we can begin that beginning process of getting somebody just to use drugs differently so they have a health outcome, they're thinking about their drug use and they're thinking about how they can change their drug use to be more healthy. That's the opening step or the thought process in the recovery. Everything that we do is for a reason. So even like with HIV testing, we realize that when we push people to test, it makes them feel uncomfortable, and that raises the threshold for services and they may not come in. So we say stuff like, hey, we know people like to know what their HIV or Hep C status is. So whenever you're ready to test, if you have questions about your status, you feel uncomfortable, there might be a change down the road where you see a risk factor, you just let us know when you want to test and we'll get you tested. And what that does from a counseling perspective is it puts the ball in that person's court and allows them to take some responsibility for that. But also in that statement, just let me know when you're ready to test, suggests that at some point you will be ready to test. We really think about how we do what we do and why we do it so that we are engaging people in a more healthy way for the health of the person that's here, but also for the health of the city.
The city's syringe exchange program has served 11,500 people since opening up 2 years ago, and it's now also available at these satellite locations throughout the community. Last year, 364 people died of overdoses in Jefferson County. Recently, their families gathered to support each other and speak out.
We're looking at my son, Adam Cooley. He died at age 27 on March the 10th. It's only been 5 months, almost 6, since I lost my son of an overdose of heroin, which was laced with fentanyl. We were grieving prior to his death, but this is a different grief. This grief gets to the core of your being.
Today we have over 50 rallies in 30 states, as well as Washington, D.C. Today is in remembrance of those that we have lost to this epidemic. It is also a call for federal action. We need a federal response to this issue. We have resource tables set up all over the park today to give people available resources to get people into treatment, options for treatment, as well as naloxone training today. We want people to know that there are options and try to give them as much resources as possible. This is an addiction epidemic. We are losing thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. There are approximately 144 people dying a day from this. When my son told me that he was using Opana, I did not know what that was. And the more I researched, the more that I found that he shouldn't have had access. They were overprescribed. He should not have died from this. And he told me numerous times, I don't want to die from this, Mom. I don't.
I miss my son so much. He was a wonderful person, and you will hear every mother and father here say, my son, my daughter, my spouse was a wonderful individual. Grief is a funny thing. At first you deny it, and as the months go on and that loved one doesn't call you or text you, the grief is just horrendous because you put so much into that child or that spouse or whatever, and you need to be with people who have gone through the same thing or are going through the same thing. It brings comfort to me to be with other people who know what I'm going through.
This epidemic has destroyed communities. If you look at Jefferson County alone, we are already up 15 deaths in this county versus last year. Every life is worth saving, every life. And when you have an opioid addiction, your ability to reason is not there. And you need to know that you are worth it, that you can get better and people do recover. There is hope. There are groups all over the country, as well as all over our state. Ask for help. Ask. We will find a way to get you into treatment.
This has to stop in some form or fashion. I can't do it by myself, so I need to get involved in a group situation that's bigger than me.
I have hope. I'm hoping that our elected officials in the federal government will see these rallies across the country and take action. And we need to call them, make sure that we follow up with them and encourage them to do this. Washington needs to start listening to us parents that have lost our kids, and we're trying to fix this.
First responders like LMPD officer James Simon are adjusting to seeing more drug-related crimes and overdoses. We recently joined him on his beat in the Portland neighborhood.
I ride the Portland area, 15th to 37th. I came to this job at 33 years of age. Looking to see what we have holding. I've been riding down here 5-6 years. I know a lot of the people down here. The past couple of years, I can't tell you how many overdoses we've had to respond to. Portland has got a bad drug problem. It has a tendency to push a lot of everything else. Property crimes, domestic violence, street-level robberies. 2 suspicious subjects have been hanging out in the area all day, according to the caller. So we're gonna go and find out what they're about. Guy, shaved head, white shirt, camouflage pants. That's the other thing that they said. It's like he's been hanging around the area all day. What is your name, date of birth, and social? All right, here's my question is, what do you got going on in Arkansas?
I'm on parole.
You're on parole?
Yes, sir.
Because they may have a warrant for you. You got anything in here that's actually going to stick, stab, or poke them?
No, sir.
When's the last time you shot up?
A couple hours ago.
A couple hours ago?
Yes, sir.
And how much did you shoot?
Not much, you know what I mean?
Ready to go?
I've only been out 2 months. I've been locked up the last 3 years.
You mind if I ask what for?
Receiving stolen property. I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, and I'm tired. You can go 4 or 5 houses on any street and get whatever you want, no matter what it is you do.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
You can walk to the store and be offered whatever it is you want.
Man, I gotta be honest with you, that's no way to live. Hope you get yourself dried out. If they could get you the detox, that might do you good, get you clean and sober. It may not solve your legal problems, but it could solve that monkey on your back.
Louisville Metro Corrections helps detox about 10,000 people a year, which is causing staff and inmates to make some changes.
Metro Corrections is the largest detox in Metro Louisville by default. Not because we want to, we're a jail. We weren't built to develop treatment programs, but because of the need, we had to.
To detox here, we try to make it as easy as possible for the women that come in. It's not a medical detox program though, you go through the full withdrawals.
Just for today, my thoughts will be on my recovery, living and enjoying life without the use of drugs.
The culture in corrections has changed tremendously. Within the last few years, we've become more treatment-oriented. In-house program, Enough is Enough program, the inmates there are like the example inmates. They don't get into fights, they don't get into trouble, they hold each other accountable, they hold themselves accountable.
We go through different classes, we go through different steps, like the 12 steps. All of it's about, we're trying to change our distorted pattern of thinking. It's deeply ingrained.
Anybody struggling with some acceptance today?
I'm real familiar with the reading acceptance, but sometimes it's just real hard to practice. How long does it take to be okay with going to prison? Can you accept that? Like, I don't know, because I'm working. I know that I need to accept it, or my time's just gonna be really hard, but like, I can't accept the fact that I'm gonna be going to prison. Like, it's not okay to me.
If we could change how they think, we're going to change their decisions, and the decisions are going to be better.
No matter what happens to me today, no matter what I do, today I don't have to get high, I don't have to use drugs. I can learn a new way to deal with things.
When we're scared enough, when we're sick and tired enough, when we're lost enough, then we'll begin to change.
Just you watch. I will prevail.
The best part of this program is the feeling of sisterhood.
I will survive. I will never give up.
The feeling of not being alone. The feeling of finally being safe. Because for so long, I didn't feel safe.
Because I'm a strong, sober sister in a community that has my back. Woo!
Thanks, ladies.
Thanks, ladies.
When folks are released, it's really important to have a system in place, like the relationship offered by peer support specialist Pearl Alexander.
For a long time, I was afraid of giving up what I had to lose. And actually, I didn't have nothing to lose. I had everything to gain. All it takes is the willingness, and it takes work. My name is Pearl Alexander. I am an employee of Centerstone, Kentucky. I'm a certified adult peer support specialist. I struggled with addiction. I was out there for a long time and didn't have a clue that help was out there. I try to keep hope alive by being a role model. I mainly work with pregnant women. I'm there to encourage. I just assist them with different things. It just depends on what their needs are. If they hadn't completed school, help them with education, what I need to do, to get in school. I want my GED, and I can assist them. I make myself available to each case manager. It's just big possibilities for peer support to assist clients. Pearl Alexander, I'm checking my calendar now. That is what I do with our clients, is share my life experience, share my story with them. I was pregnant and I was using. I used to be one of those persons that says, I would never do that. Use while you're pregnant, and I end up being one of them. Some people don't like to discuss certain things that they have done or in their life because they feel like they the only ones that done it. We've been there, we done that. We done things probably a lot worse than what you are trying to, not disclose to us. Hopefully, let them know that they're not alone. You're not the only one that done that. It is important to discuss how we feeling. Whether we having a good day or a bad day, it doesn't really matter. If one of my clients are having a bad day, I try to find a way to make them feel better, give them hope. When I first started attending Alcoholics Anonymous and started participating in their AA meetings, I noticed that when I sit back and I actually listen to a person's story, that they was actually telling my story. And I felt like if they had the courage and the guts to get up there and disclose this type of information, they took away my shame. What motivated me to become a peer support, it just takes me back to wanting to help somebody. One qualification is that you have a lived experience. I set the goal, and I actually got certified in March as a peer support. Today was an awesome day. A client was reunited with her child, and that is a big deal for her. That should help her continue with her sobriety and working alongside our services to help her to continue to grow. We will have a continuing relationship with her to help her stay focused and on track so that she may continue to keep the custody with her child. I don't look down on anybody, and if it is, it's to reach my hand down, pull them back up. Whether they, accept our services or not, change is possible if you really want it, and I planted a seed. It might be a year later that they'll come back and say, hey, I'm ready. It's just really exciting to see them grow. Once they grab that, don't let go of it. Don't give it up for nothing in the world. I love my job. It's a feeling that I really can't even explain. Being able to be there and encouraging them, okay? With my story. And they say, okay, Pearl, I'm gonna go to a meeting. I'm gonna go look for a sponsor. I'm gonna start working the 12 steps. And to hear them say that, I'm there for them. Getting sober is easy. The hardest part is staying sober. If you don't do what is necessary to stay sober, you can fall off and be back where you started from, and it gets worse, never better. You don't want to let nobody discourage you from helping somebody else. I try to keep hope alive 24/7 with anybody that I see.
The Healing Place offers a peer support recovery model. It's just one of many treatment options in Louisville.
The Healing Place is a long-term social model recovery program that's been in Louisville for 28 years. The drug of the day changes all the time, so we look at it as the disease of addiction, so it really doesn't matter what the drugs are. We have a waiting list on our women's campus at 15th and Hill. On our men's campus, it's just first come, first serve. We house about 740 people across our 3 campuses, 2 campuses in Louisville and 1 campus in Campbellsville. Crank out thank you notes as quickly as possible. It's really exciting. We're in the middle of a $29 million expansion project. They're working on phase 1 of the construction project. It should be finished in December. Our goal is to be in that by the end of the year, and we will be able to move all of our existing clients into the new wing. We'll expand from the capacity of 250 men that we currently have to 425 when it's all completed, with a lot more meeting space and office space and all that. And then across the street from that building, we have built an administrative office because we really didn't have any place for our support staff to be.
Thank you.
We'll be able to move into that building in mid-October. This will help us to triple our capacity for detox for men, and that's just really important because that's where the need is. 2 months ago, we turned 500 men away in 1 month, and those are men who are coming to us for help. And we are the provider that doesn't charge a fee, so when people can't come to us for treatment, there really are very few alternatives left for them. $1.5 million of city funding for our capital campaign. We were just incredibly grateful for that commitment from the city because addiction is a problem that reaches everybody in our community. It doesn't care what part of town you grew up in or what your income is or your education level or what your political affiliation is. Addiction is an indiscriminate disease. So we were really, really very grateful that the city stepped up, Metro Council and the mayor both stepped up to make a serious commitment to our capital campaign.
The Jefferson County Attorney's Office is trying out new programs and increasing its staff, all in the effort of trying to help folks in recovery be more successful.
It's to protect the driving public from drunk drivers and being hit and injured or even killed. If a judge sees so fit to order, you cannot drink alcohol at all, period, this is the best safeguard for that. CAMP, Continuous Alcohol Monitoring Program. It's been up and running for several months now. Probably have maybe between, I want to say, 10 and 20 people on it already. It's a sensor that attaches to the ankle, monitors alcohol consumption on a regular basis. Like every 30 minutes or so, it'll take a reading, and because alcohol will evaporate in different ways throughout the body, but this goes through the perspiration. This looks like an additional implement that we can use. The main purpose would be to keep that offender alcohol free, and what we've seen and what we've learned is that helps and goes a long way in their recovery. That people that have gone 30, 60, 90 days, that might help them make that next step to get off of it altogether. If this bracelet can save one life, it'll be worth it.
Casey's Law is a state law that actually came into existence around 2004. Allows family members and interested persons to file a civil matter alleging that he or she is dependent upon alcohol, drugs, or both, and is potentially a danger to himself or herself or others. It is not a quick, necessarily easy process. This person is assessed, clinicians express opinions that support the assessment that the person is in fact addicted and is a danger to himself or others, and therefore treatment is an option that the court would consider. It's going to enlighten that person even more. It's going to present them with information, opportunity, the ability to try to surrender and to deal with their disease at a level maybe they haven't dealt with it before. And that's where the real recovery starts to take place.
If you know someone who's ready for treatment, call 211 and they can help refer you in the right direction. Thank you for watching this episode of the 502 Report. Until next time, take care.
Metro TV, a public service of Louisville Metro Government.